It's officially fall, you guys. I made a pumpkin cold foam cold brew at home all by myself. Recipe coming soon. Oh my god, it's so good. I purchased my first mini pumpkins of the season. With these colder months and the days getting shorter, I know a lot of people deal with seasonal depression, and even if you don't clinically deal with that, I think a lot of people are definitely more alone during these months and can definitely feel a lot more disconnected and lonely. So I am sure you have heard of the male loneliness epidemic. I wanted to touch on this today because I feel like it just relates to so many other points that are relevant right now. According to a study done in 2021, 15% of men claim that they have no close friends, which is a staggering 12% increase since 1990. Men are more likely to be single and have less sex than women. 6 in 10 men under the age of 30 are single. And then it goes into all the health risks that are associated with loneliness. And I would say that this affects men and women, you know, premature death, anxiety, depression, etc. But in addition, men are nearly 4 times more likely than women to unalive themselves. And I've been actually meaning to say this. Did you guys see, like, side note, when it comes to using terms that are not actually the term, correct me if I'm wrong, but that started because websites and apps, etc., will filter out when you say that. It was at a Seattle museum. It literally said Kurt Cobain unalived himself. Like, it said that word for word. This didn't start as a trigger warning. It started so that you could say things without being like shadow banned or having your video taken down for sensitive content, you know? And it really just gets me thinking that, like, sometimes when people are too woke and trying to be too overly sensitive, you're kind of just doing the exact thing that you're trying initially not to do, perpetuating a world that is uncomfortable and talking about serious issues and sterilizing things that need to be talked about. Like, you should be uncomfortable when you talk about certain things because that's the nature of the topic. So yeah, that's really frustrating to me. The goal of educating yourself about different subjects, whatever they may pertain to, whether it's mental health or race or whatever part of history, you know, whatever the case may be, it's not about feeling comfortable all the time. Like, yeah, kind of the point in talking about something that was wrong or really sad or tragic is that you're gonna feel uncomfortable, and part of being emotionally healthy is able to deal with uncomfortable emotions. So that's like a side note, but let me know if you relate or not. So when it comes to this male loneliness epidemic, I do think it's a real thing. You know, men, typically speaking, are not taught how to healthily deal with their emotions. Pretty much the only emotion they're allowed by society to express, you know, allow as in to not be emasculated by, to not be made fun of by, is anger. And that's why you see men, you know, committing these heinous acts. Majority of violent crimes are done by men. I'm sure you've seen how often guys will say that, like in movies, in real life, like in media, they're always like, well, you know, women are just so catty, like women are fighting all the time, like, oh my god, they're so emotional. Men can just like disagree and like get on with their lives, but it's like, no, not until someone owes you money, or again, like you think they're flirting with your girl or like something, and then you want to like get violent with them. A lot of the times they'll think they have friends, but it's really just like guys that they'll do different activities with, like play sports with, or like play video games with, or maybe they work together or whatever, but it never really gets like deep. And I know sometimes guys will be there for each other emotionally, but it just seems like for majority, they're not like talking about their feelings, you know? So when it comes to maybe big life events or changes, or something really sad happens, or you're going through hard times, I think for a lot of guys, because they don't have that level of intimacy with their other male friends, they're unable to feel supported by their friends in that way. And so that's when they end up feeling lonely, because when everything's good and you're just chilling and you're playing ball with your friends, like, yeah, of course, like, I'm not emotional, like, yeah, these are my boys. In order to have a really deep friendship with someone, or relationship with someone, or connection with someone, you have to be willing to show them all sides of you. When you keep things light, it's like, on one side, you're gonna probably run into less problem. Nothing's really gonna bother me because I don't even really know you like that. Like, we just do activities together. But then at the same time, it's like, because I don't really know you like that, I can't really open up to you about what I'm actually struggling with or going through in my personal life. So I think there's that. But then at the same time, that's also the case for a lot of women, you know? A lot of women struggle with making friends and having those deep connections. I think it's a very universal thing. But yeah, I do think for men, that's where a lot of this stems from, is that they're made fun of from a young age of expressing emotions, and it's kind of like they're just taught to feel numb until it comes out in these unhealthy ways. And that's why it's like, girl, you cannot expect a random guy to be your best friend and to be like your everything, because they're usually cut off from their own emotions. Yeah, I just want to talk about our feelings and like, why doesn't he get it? But it's like, he doesn't even get it within himself. So speaking of, I think it affects everyone, I think social media plays a large part in this, and just the rise of technology. It's very easy to feel like you're connected without feeling connected, without actually being connected to others. And a lot of people, men and women, complain about, or even just talk about, you know, how it's hard to make friends. I don't know how to make friends. But then it's like, you will literally see the same person talk about, and I've said this before, y'all, talk about how, oh my God, once they know my order at my local coffee shop or restaurant, when I get my takeout, I have to switch. That's so embarrassing. You go outside, everyone's on their phone. I think it also takes starting with yourself and making small steps. Again, like, no matter your gender, just saying good morning to people, making people feel seen. It doesn't mean you have to be the most extroverted person, like most sociable person, if that's not naturally your personality. But in order to feel connection and feel community and work towards building that and potentially building friendships and meaningful relationships, you have to get off your phone and live in the real life. Sorry if that sounds very like old head of me to say. I think it's so lame. Like, I think it is such a turn off when you go somewhere and everyone's on their phone. Like, it's so lame to me. It's like, bro, we are grown adults. And especially if you're my age and older, we didn't grow up as iPad kids, so you really have no excuse. Like, you're an iPad kid at the age of 30. That's embarrassing. And then you want to complain about, oh man, I'm so lonely. It's like, yeah, babe, every time you're actually around people, you're like uncomfortable by it because you're on your phone. So then you go on your phone, so then you ignore people. It's just a cycle. So another thought I have about this, and let me know if you relate, because I really just want the girlies to listen to this one. Like, this is not a podcast for the guys. I've been getting some hate comments from the randoms recently, and it's like, period, but it's also like, this isn't even for y'all. Like, I'm talking to my homegirls. It's not up to women to solve this problem for you, you know? And it's just frustrating on a personal level, because the amount of times my girlfriends, women that I've known, even for myself, that we've been there for a man, listened to his problems, you know, been that person in his life for him to basically emotionally dump on, just to then be screwed over, or just like they kind of use that as like a false intimacy so that they can gain your trust so they can try to sleep with you. And so I just really refuse to do that. And I don't mean that to be mean or like in an I hate men type of way. I mean, when you hear these stories, like that French story, I don't think I can even talk about it on here because it's so horrible. When you hear about people like Diddy, when you hear about, what was it, like a gymnast husband and the blender, then yeah, it kind of does make me feel like, okay, why the F should I care about any of this? Like, but you know, extreme examples aside, I think it does just come down to having healthy boundaries within yourself as a woman and not overextending yourself, because I think a lot of women do feel naturally empathetic and giving. You can't let people take advantage of that. And even if someone is not necessarily consciously taking advantage of that, it's kind of like a vibe. Like, if someone is taking and taking and taking, I don't want to say you're letting them, but it's like, that's kind of how the energy is. But if your energy is like sealed off, people can't take and take and take from you. So it's really about going back. Like, if you have had examples in the past where you felt like a guy was using you for your emotional labor, to be his free therapist, whatever, and not really doing that in return for you, you have to think back to the first kind of, you know, moments and interactions you had with that person. At what point did they kind of almost realize like, oh, I could use this person to talk at and they'll listen? Because that's genuinely a waste of time. It's a waste of your emotional energy. I just get so annoyed when I see these women like, oh, I'm just a healer, and y'all know I've talked about that before on this podcast, but babe, you're not naturally a healer if it's just like you keep attracting guys specifically that are using you. Like, you just have poor boundaries. People are using you as a doormat. You don't have self-respect and those boundaries and a high sense of self-worth, and people can feel that, and that's why they're walking all over you. You have to be strict, babes. A lot of women will have this kind of affection or love towards a man or even a crush where they kind of, it's like the same love that a woman would have for their child. Remind yourself that that's not your child. That's a grown man. He might even be older than you. He's perfectly capable of figuring things out on his own, and it's not your responsibility to solve his loneliness for him. Obviously, it's different if it's your husband, but sometimes even in situations like that, it's like well into their marriage that the woman kind of realizes, like, hold on, like something about this dynamic I'm not okay with anymore, or I'm sick of this, or something needs to change. So have those boundaries. It's not up to us to solve that. I think if anything, something I do is I just will say good morning to people. But even that, it's not really in a way, it's not in like a, oh my God, like I just want to make them feel so good. It's like, for example, I always go to the grocery store. I typically see the same people. So if it's been enough times of me seeing the same person, I'll say hi. Like, oh, good morning. There's just this energy that comes with that that's like, on one hand, it's like, I see you, I'm recognizing you, I'm acknowledging you, I'm making you feel seen as a person. You could be a random old man working at a grocery store, period. I'm gonna say good morning. So it's like, I see you, but then also it's like, I see you. The other day, it wasn't even like anything crazy, but I walked to get some coffee early in the morning. It was like early. There was not that many people out. And there was this old man on the porch, and he was just really staring at me when I walked past. And I kind of was like it wasn't creepy, but I'm just like, damn, like at least say good morning. Like, I don't know. It was just kind of like weird to me. So I walked back the same way, and he's there again. And I was like, good morning. And it's kind of just like in a I see you type of way. It's kind of like, I don't know if I'm just reading in too deep, but it's like when someone knows you see them and you look them in their eye, it's kind of like you're not just acting like, oh my God, like a scared little like, oh my God, like, it's like, I see you. I'm not trying to engage with you, but I see you and I'm going to acknowledge you. And, that's all you can do, babes. If I see a tweet about the male loneliness epidemic, it's like, damn, that's crazy. Well, y'all better get your tips and tricks. Like, do something about this, because I thought y'all were supposed to be the leaders and logical. Like, why can't you solve this problem? It's like, if you really wanted to change, you would. And there are men out there who go to therapy, become more emotionally healthy, learn, take notes, strive to do better and be better, and step into truly healthy masculinity, which I think is like being a leader, having integrity, being honest, and I'm not even talking about, obviously in relationships, but just like in life. Like, it's such a turnoff when a man doesn't stand on business, even if it's not like regarding me. Like, if it's just like he's trying to like scam somebody over, like lie to somebody else, like doing business, or like, that's such a turnoff, and that's not healthy masculinity. I think there are things men can do to work on this and to feel less lonely. I think not being weird would be a start. Like, I don't know, bro. Like, I honestly don't even want to engage with this community, like TBH, like that community. Some of these guys are really psychotic and like want to blame women for their problems, and it's just like, I'm not trying to get involved. Like, having my own emotional boundaries. But I think another thing, honestly, speaking of boundaries and things we can do as women, I'm literally not at all trying to blame women for men's behavior, literally at all. However, it's little things like, if you say, I'm never talking to him again, and then he hits you up at 2 a.m. and you go over there, sis, stand on business. You're telling him it's okay. You're literally telling him, you can't trust anything I say. I'm a dum-dum. The fact that more women are being celibate, it's like, sorry, get your act together. Like, So that's why starting with the self is always the best way to create change and create the world that we want to live in. Because it's like, if a man wants to talk to me and he's just kind of coming with this energy of like not having integrity, not doing what he says, not dealing with his emotions in a healthy way, that's not okay with me. I don't want a man like that in my life, so I'm not going to engage with him. So hopefully he learns. And at least I won't have to deal with that. Hopefully the next chick also won't have to deal with that, So it's like, should we care? we should care in the sense of, yeah, I want you to be in your healthy masculine energy, and you're not going to achieve that by taking and taking and taking from a woman, whether that's emotionally or for shelter or whatever. Push the baby bird of this lonely man out of the nest. He can take care of it himself, okay? If he wants to sit around and complain, that's fine, but good luck. Like, I'm not denying it's a problem, but it's not your job to fix it, sis. All you can do is have your own emotional boundaries to hopefully encourage healthy masculinity. Say good morning to an old guy who doesn't give you an ominous vibe. Is my advice. I don't know. If you guys have any thoughts, I would love to hear them. So I wanted to move on to our wellness, health, diet section of the podcast. And I wanted to talk about the best anti-aging advice that, you know, I've heard and that I personally practice. Y'all want to know something funny? I mean, I personally love when you're out and a guy asks you how old you are, and I mean, you never ask a lady her age. Or I'm like, guess. This past weekend, this guy guessed that I was 23. But also this same year, this was back in March, so I was a little stressed out at that time, but this guy, a separate guy, guessed I was 33. Which is just like, I'm not taking offense, but it's like not too much now. But anyway, we're gonna go with the 23 option, not to give in to society's beauty standards, but I was like, period, the retinol is doing what it needs to do. So the fact that you lose, wait, how much is it? But your collagen is what makes your skin look youthful, and it's what makes your joints feel good. It's what makes your, you know, your skin good, your nails good, your hair good, all of that. So in your mid to late 20s and early 30s, you start losing 1% of collagen per year. And then this is actually from a med spa website. They say by 40, collagen drops dramatically, leading to signs of aging. So that's why you get wrinkles, your skin will start to sag, all of that. A lot of people will get kind of triggered when you talk about anti-aging. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing what you can to look your best for as long as you can. If you disagree, that's fine, but that's just how I feel. Like, babe, you know, something I also think about all the time is like, because I started really doing skincare when I was like probably 18. Like, before that I would do skincare, but I didn't really know. Like, I remember putting coconut oil on my face, which if you do that and it works for you, that's fine, but I had like acne at the time, and that will literally clog your pores. Like, I didn't know, you know. But anyway, it was around 18. So I always think like, what would my skin look like now if I never started doing that? Like, if I didn't wear SPF all these years, if I didn't use tretinoin all these years, if I didn't moisturize, like, oh my god. Especially for those of us with less melanin, babes, okay? It's important that we take these tips and tricks. Did y'all see my TikTok? I was like talking about this other TikTok I saw. This girl, you could tell she was like Caribbean, you know, like Afro-Latina. She's like, guys, like, I don't know why you guys get Botox and all this stuff. Like, your diet just isn't good. I just put raw honey on my face and like eat fruits and vegetables and my skin's amazing. It's like, babe, it's genetics. Like, you can't be telling someone like me that, okay? Like, I gotta stay out of the sun. I need a little Botox, okay? I love Botox, but I feel like, I mean, I guess this was kind of more of the trend too at the time. Like the fox eye trend, like the really lifted brow. I would get that. Like, I wasn't specifically getting like a brow lift, but when they put a little Botox above your eyebrow, it kind of lifts that muscle. So it's not like the threads or anything dramatic. It's just kind of the placement of the Botox. And I feel like in the past it was just too much, because I kind of had those like angry brows, especially in LA. Like, it was just way too much. I love Botox for freezing the muscles, especially like I have a very expressive face. I be LOLing a lot, which is great, but I don't always want those wrinkles, and I kind of love when my face doesn't move. Like, it's nice, but I don't think I would get that brow lift again. Like, I love a frozen look, but I just kind of want it to be as it is. I've never gotten any filler. I really, honestly, like, I used to think, okay, maybe when I'm like 30s, you know, and I start to lose some facial volume, I don't even think I would get filler later on, unless I know there's different types you can get, but just with all this stuff coming out of how filler migrates in people's faces and how it never really goes away, and just the pillow face look, like there's so many celebs and even just like regular people where like, and I don't mean to like talk shit about how a woman looks, but just in terms of like, you do this thinking you're gonna look good and it ends up just looking like not good. And you just, some people, like you look at them, and for me at least, I just see like filler. Like I don't think, wow, they look so beautiful. Like I just think like you have too much filler. And that can easily be avoided, you know? That's like my fear, like already kind of with looking back at some of the Botox, like thank God Botox just wears off and you metabolize it. Because if my brows were permanently in that like angry expression, babe, we would have a serious issue on our hands. I do really want to get microneedling, TBH. I have some acne scars on the sides of my face. They're really not bad, I think, especially since I have gotten microneedling before and I do use tretinoin and I always use like chemical exfoliants and stuff. But I do think, especially for like anti-aging, getting like, I would love to just get a package of microneedling each year, you know, because that can help so much with like texture. I feel like that's my main thing these days. It's not really so much acne. Like sometimes I'll get a pimple here and there, but it's really like texture, not like insane fine lines, but kind of like let's prevent this as long as we can type vibe. I've also seen people get amazing results with like, as far as scarring, I don't really have hyperpigmentation or anything, but it's mostly just like texture. But I've seen people get amazing results with chemical peels. But I feel like with that, I kind of wish I got that in LA, because here it's like, you in New York, you got to be out and about a lot of the time, you know, you can't just kind of like hide in your apartment. I mean, you can, but it's like, I wish I'd gotten that before. I could do it now, but, and I do kind of want to get like regular facials, like the hydrofacials, because they do the extractions and like, but yeah, I just always think of like, I just think long term. So even with diet, I think that's a big thing. What I eat now, how I work out now, everything, I want it to not only benefit me now, make me feel good and look good now, but I want it to benefit me long term. So yeah, like bone broth is really the magic elixir. It has that collagen. It's going to support your joint health. It's going to make your skin better, nails, hair, all of that. And also lifting weights. I know a lot of girlies don't like to do that. They prefer Pilates or whatever. But it is really good for your joints and for your bones, you know, because as women, we lose a lot of that as we get older. And it's really important to just keep the density of your bones. But yeah, I think it's just important that everything you do in your life is going to be sustainable for you and help you out long term. So filler, IDK babes, like you might have some nice luscious lips now, but how is that gonna look in 10 years, 20 years? Are you gonna have a pillow face vibe? You might be thinking, oh, I look so tired, let me get this under eye filler, and then in 5-10 years you kind of look a little crazy. But definitely just having a healthy diet, getting enough healthy fats as a woman, getting your collagen, wearing your SPF, doing tretinoin, that's, I think, just pretty basic. I want to say in general that's going to work for most people. You know, obviously consult with your doctor if you have some kind of condition. But let me know your best anti-aging tips, if you do any treatments that you kind of do with that in mind of like long-term results. I would love to share them down below. I was gonna tell you guys this story of the weekend, this old creepy guy, but I actually told it in depth in my recent vlog, so I'll link that down below. You can get the tea. I am going to answer some questions. How do you prevent too much bulking from working out? I think I overdid arms. Focusing on high protein foods. I just eat a lot more plants as carbs, or like I'll do like a rice and bean. Like I used to have eggs, like an avocado toast with eggs every morning. I just stopped doing the toast and I do like eggs with avocado, sometimes like ground beef, TBH. I'll focus more on like sweet potatoes, plantains, again, beans and rice. Sometimes I'll have a pasta, but rarely. I just find that whole carbs like that digest better, not as processed. Definitely higher protein. And it really is just about calories in, calories out, doing your cardio, getting at least 10,000 steps every day. It basically just comes to, I think, the fat over your muscles. And then also for back, I will do heavier weights, but when it comes to physically like arms and honestly shoulders, I don't do super heavy weights for that because I want to look nice and toned, but I don't want to look bulky. That's just not the aesthetic I'm really going for. That would be my tips. Any budget makeup products you use for a beat? I actually just did a makeup tutorial on my main channel. I have been loving the Revlon skin, it's like, is it the skin caring line? But basically they have a couple, it's like a foundation and almost like a tinted moisturizer that have things like hyaluronic acid in them. I love the finish of both of them. So good. The Maybelline Express Brow Pencil, so good. The e.l.f. like sticky primer, what's it called? That's basically the dupe of the Milk makeup. Love. I've been using these Wet n Wild blushes recently that are really good. Like I've been on it with the drugstore products TBH and finding a lot of really good ones. So even if you don't want to watch that whole makeup tutorial, I did link every single product that I used in the description of that video, so you can just go through and see which are drugstore. There are quite a few drugstore products in that. Any favorite apps on phone? Cash App, the banking app. I honestly don't really use any like crazy apps. I use the Notes app a lot just for to-do lists and like ideas and stuff, but it's like that, music, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I basically just use the Notes app. I don't know. Do you guys have any favorite apps that are unusual? Let me know. Current favorite coffee drink? I just made my pumpkin spice cold foam cold brew. So good. I really want to get a Cuban coffee maker, like the mocha pot, and get the little thing and like learn how to make Cuban coffee because that sounds like my type of vibe. Also, speaking of the region, there's this coffee shop in Williamsburg that apparently does like a cojito latte, which is like a Puerto Rican drink that's kind of like coconut, but they make it as like a latte, and I want to learn how to make that. I think it'd be really easy, but then I also need like an espresso maker. I'm not always in the mood for coconut, TBH. Not that I dislike it, but sometimes I just feel like it's a little overbearing. But I want to go try theirs, and I want to make it myself. Did you like San Diego and more Southern California? Yes. Oh my god, especially like Laguna Beach, so pretty. Orange County, you know, it's very right-wing. It's kind of the actual like vibe of the people, kind of odd. TBH. Even San Diego, in some parts it was like kind of weird. I don't know, but the beaches are beautiful. Yeah, like Laguna Beach is so beautiful. San Diego is very beautiful too, like amazing beaches. Like, oh my god. Would I live there? I don't know. Maybe with a rich husband and a nice community because it's so pretty. Do you prefer salon or doing nails yourself? Recently I've been doing everything myself. I do like getting a pedicure. I feel like that's a relaxing experience, especially when they give you a little tea or like a champagne. You know, they do the massage. As far as my nails, like on my hand, I just like doing that myself. I feel like it stays fresher. I don't like when like I sit there, I can't use my hands sweat. It's like not relaxing. So I've been doing press-ons. If you watch my vlogs, you know. Somebody asks, how do you deal with compliancy? You just have to get comfortable saying no and just practice and know that what you want to do is the most important to yourself. So that doesn't mean never be flexible or never be able to compromise. But it's like if all your friends want to go to the afters and you're tired, it's like honor the fact that you're tired. It just takes practice, you know, it just takes a lot of practice and trusting yourself to know what's best for you. So that's going to be all I talk about this week. I hope you guys enjoyed. It's starting to rain outside and I'm just really feeling the fall vibes. I hope you guys have a great start to fall. Let me know your thoughts on anything I talked about down below. Don't forget to share this. Follow me on IG and TikTok, and I will talk to you guys next week. Bye everyone.